Hi everyone, Darla from stampingunderdoctorsorders.blogspot.com here with you today with a tutorial on how to use the fonts in Cricut Craft Room. I've had quite a few questions on how to use the fonts and their shadows and to get them to line up correctly and be sized correctly. So I'm just going to show you there's a couple of different ways you can do it. The first is that you can use your keypad down here and bring them up on your screen by just clicking. This is my shadow, and then I'm going to turn that off. Oops, leave my shift on. And add it again, and I'm going to choose a new layer because I want this to be the layer that goes on top. And then you just have to line it up, okay? If you want to join your letters so that it makes a word instead of just the individual letters, whatever you want joined has to be on the same layer, first of all. And then when they overlap, as soon as they join, you'll see a weld or don't weld. If you weld, it will cut as one piece instead of two separate pieces. And you can see it actually changed the color and everything. Okay. If you go to options, and if yours might actually only be showing cutout lines, or if you've enabled the color like I have, then your fill mode is checked. If you turn that off, you can actually see in here, I don't know how well it's showing up on the video for you, but this is actually grayed out in between, and only your black cut line is what's going to actually cut. So here I have O and N will cut as one piece instead of two separate pieces, okay? And here my shadow's lined up pretty good. So that's how I would do it, and I would have to actually line up the shadow with every single piece, have my shadow on one layer and my top layer on another layer so that they would cut separately, but yet I could still weld the letters together for both my shadow and the letters together for my top layer, okay? So that's one way of doing it. I'm just going to delete these back out. The other way of doing it is that you can come up here to your fonts, and then you add a text box, choose your font cartridge, choose your creative feature. I'm just using standard which is basically, for this particular cartridge, it's without any features selected. Okay, that's what I'm using right now. So once you've done that, you also can select your font size here. So let's just make it 2 to make it easier to see on the video. And then you click up here on your text field and type in what you'd like. Okay. Oh, and I turned my fill mode back off. Oops. Let's just turn that back on. So I've typed that in, and then I'm just going to adjust my spacing until I get what I like. If I want it to cut as one word, sorry. So you can see it changed color, so it's now actually all going to cut as one word. I'm going to come down to my matte layers, I'm going to add a new layer, and I want this to be the shadow, so I want it below this. If I do it right now, let me just show you. Whoops. If I do it right now, select this one, then select my shadow, it will actually show up, oops, on top. You see this? So when I try to line it up, that's not going to work. So I need it below. So I'm just going to come to my matte layers, and I'm just going to click on my layer and drag it below, and then release my button, and that will make it so that it's below it. The way your layers work is whatever order it is here, bottom layer here, bottom layer here, top layer here, top layer here. So that's how you can actually remember that. Those of you that use Photoshop or any of those programs are already familiar with layers. These work very much the same. Okay? So now I want to, let's also change the color to make it easier to see. So to change the color, you're going to come over here to the color dot and click on it. It will bring up your thing, and let's just change it to black since it is a shadow. And once that's there, you just click apply. Back up to my font. I have my shadow feature. I need to change this to 2 inches because that's what my top was. Click in my text field and type in, my word. You'll notice they don't line up. Don't worry about it. Come over here to your letter spacing and just get them approximate here. Just click done, and then you can move this. Line up your first letter. Don't worry about the rest of the word because the rest of the word is going to adjust with your arrows over here. It's your first letter that you need to line everything up with. So once you have that lined up, then you can really adjust your letter spacing. Oops. There we go. And that's how you do it. Now when I cut this, I would actually move one over here and oops, one over here. Now when I go into my cut window, select your machine, and you can either do all layers separate, which means you pick down here, you just use your arrow keys. Don't worry about the color here. The color here is not going to be the same as the color you selected on your screen. As a matter of fact, if I arrow through, it's going to change color when I click back to it every single time. Okay? So this was my top layer. So I can load my paper in and I can cut my top layer, and then I can go to my shadow layer and just line your paper up with the correct area of your mat, and then you can cut that layer as well. Okay? If you want to cut them all at once and just put your top layer paper here and your shadow layer paper here, just go to all layers, one page, and they'll both come up at the same time, and you just line your paper up accordingly. Okay? That's your tutorial for today, and I hope that helps. Have a good one.